You all know her. You've all been bruised in battle by her. But none of us has lost the war against her. Pandora. According to Greek mythology, Pandora was the first mortal woman. And it was this first woman who opened a jar and unleashed evil and disease into the world. Jewish folklore tells us of Lilith.
There's a very sort of real parallel to this cult-like sort of incel community dynamic, where a very charismatic figure is sort of preying on people who have troubles themselves, and it's giving them a way to sort of control and manipulate other people. I thought the main villain was a very dynamic. Almost everybody on screen was really had a great naturalistic and grounded approach that made the concept feel very realistic, and I thought that the conceit early on with the main villain speaking so often that was later balanced by himself being a therapist dynamic was really an interesting loop that had a lot of like thematic overlaps throughout the piece. I thought the visual cues are really worked well to sort of maintain a sinister undercurrent during the piece that really, even when something normal was happening, you really felt like there was a dark dynamic underneath it all, and it really created a piece that was very striking visually, especially the ending with the shovels and the dirt. It really made you think about this piece in a way that you wouldn't necessarily ever imagined from the open. So I thought it was quite well done and definitely functioning at a level of depth that you might not expect from this type of piece. But it was well thought out, and that's why I enjoyed it.
That monologue at the beginning from the seemed like a pastor, but from the head guy in charge really was such a strong opening and set the tone for the movie and like who these people are and what they're about. The twist at the end, or not even, I mean, we kind of, I feel like we knew she was walking into a bit of a trap, but I think the, where the friend comes and then she's surrounded, like the car is surrounded by the guys, that was really scary and unexpected. The way things turned and her boyfriend ended up being that new recruit. At the end where we find out she's still alive. Did they mean to bury her alive? Is there a way for her to get out? So good, so good. And I wish it was longer and I wish it continued on so that we could find out, whether she makes it out or not. But really fascinating stuff. I thought the interview was really well done. The back and forth dynamics between her, the journalist, and him, the head honcho, was so good. I thought that they wrote him very well, especially with his psychologist background. I thought that everything was really true to character, and he used a lot of his training in order to help him become who he was. So yeah, I really liked this. I thought the story was really creative and it was really well executed.
What was so scary about Pandora's Adversaries, outside of it being this, woman-hating cult, where these women are just like trapped, is that it is such like a real issue in the real world, and seeing it on screen in such a heightened fashion is very scary for a lady. I think I really enjoyed the story for what it was, and I want to congratulate the two actresses, these two friends in this, and planning this, their preservation in this. It seemed incredibly genuine and lovely, and it was nice to watch. I think the pacing was incredibly suspenseful, and it came together to be a really, really terrifying piece for me to watch, even though it wasn't the most in-your-face, like, jump scare scary. I found it to be even more terrifying.
Like gripping, like the concept, like trying to figure out, okay, what's going on, and you start off with him making that speech about the women and stuff, and you're like, hey, yo, what's going on? What's bro on? So then that's a strong beginning, because like that drive to know what are we doing here? Where's this film going? Was a strong like narrative technique, and it paid off, and it kept me gripped for the whole thing. And the way it ended with the coffin and everything, good choice.
It was realistic in the sense that our world already has men that think like this. We call them incels. So this was just incels to the next level, what it could be, what it could become, and I thought that was a really interesting and frightening concept that they brought to this film. The acting in this was really good. I absolutely hated our main villain, and I thought the girls did a really great job as well. I really believed their friendship, and that was a realistic friendship portrayed on screen, something I would totally do for one of my girlfriends. And yeah, I really enjoyed this concept and the use of the interview to bring out the world more and learn more about this cult, but also us sort of knowing that something bad's going to happen. It also raised that suspense in us as the interview continued, and we saw that it probably wouldn't end well for her. So I thought that worked well in this film.
This film's premise is deeply troubling. It is absolutely feasible, and it plays with humans' natures, cult leaders' innate desire to control others, injecting ridiculous beliefs, and in this case, they are quite absurdly exploring the premise against women in power, which very, very easily could default into just being against women at all, which I guess in turn will turn into the end of humanity. They don't get that far, but it's just so close. And the premise, the film does an excellent job building up mystery, and you learn about this Harvey character's motivation and justification for this. And this can totally be applied to several different scenarios. You just switch the word which you want to become the enemy. It's an excellent interchange during the interview with the journalist, and that script is brilliant. It is so deep, and it explores several things that are wrong with society. I loved how, as an audience member, I just realized what was going on, along with the journalist, maybe, and they just go into a super cruel, tragic end. It is just brilliant. The outstanding performance from everyone involved, and the script is quite cruel, but also very realistic.
Very interesting concept, because it shows how people can easily fall into a toxic way of thinking. And normally you see it from the other side, where a woman has been victimized or something has happened and she begins hating all men. And this film reversed that with showing that something bad happened to one man, and so he's determined to turn all men against women. Except we usually see that from the opposite side, where women get other women to turn against men, and it was refreshing to see it from the other side. They have a very dystopian look at the future, thinking all women are the enemy, but using Greek mythology to tie into something modern is quite a unique look at something. It shows a lot of what's going on in the world, where people are falling into toxic ways of thinking and based on personal experiences, when really we should all be figuring out how to live and let live, and maybe getting therapy for whatever issues we have, and realizing that it's not just all men or all women or all one race or all one group of people just because a few people did something bad. To put this concept into a thriller film was very interesting.